everybody for coming. And I'd like to thank American Muslims for Palestine for co-sponsoring this event. Nadia Amir from South Africa, and her organization, which you can speak about at the end, for bringing Jana here to Washington, D.C. I met Jana for the first time in 2015, I believe it was. Oh wow. I was traveling through the West Bank with my two children, who are now 16 and 18. At the time they were 12 and 14, and I think Jana was supposed to be around 8 or 9. And I saw this young girl, she was shorter than my daughter, with a phone in her hand, in front of the soldiers, bravely there, in beautiful, perfect English. And I just thought, oh my God. First of all, what heartbreak that the children have to take this on, this struggle, and what grace and incredibleness that children are leading this struggle. The Palestinian children are leading the struggle on the ground in Palestine for freedom and equality. As many of you know, Jana is the youngest accredited journalist in the entire world. She got accreditation when she was 12, and I'm sure she'll tell us more about that. And I'm not going to go into too much more of her story because she's only been circling this earth for 13 years, and yet she has accomplished so much, but I'm going to let her tell it for you. We're going to do this as beginning with it really just being a conversation between Jana and I rather than a speech, and then we will open it up for questions from the audience. And we're just going to start off real quick, if we can play. We have a little video of Jana, kind of a compilation of Jana from the age of 7 when she began documenting as a journalist in her village of Nabi Saleh through today.
When I was 7 years old, when I saw that there's not enough journalists to cover things that happens in my village, Nabi Saleh in Palestine. For example, my friends that had been killed, my uncle had been killed. A lot of things was happening in the world didn't know about our feelings and children living under occupation. So I wanted to cover everything that happens with us as Palestinian children living under occupation, and to just send our message and speak for all the children who are suffering daily. When the children just noticed it, they went up and they hide it under the wall. From here, we're sending our message to the world, saying that we will never give up. Here, as you can see, Israel occupation soldiers were just raiding the village and shooting a lot of gas canisters, a lot of live bullets, because they want to scare the children. From here, we're sending the message of us. we're saying to them, we're staying here in our land. Palestine is Palestine as much as you did. From here, we're saying to the whole world, Palestine is Palestine.
We're waiting for Osama. He's coming out of jail right now. He was arrested for 9 months.
Here, we see Osama.
Alhamdulillah, salamatkum. Alhamdulillah, salamat.
From here, as you can see, those terrorist people, humans with no humanity, are coming to our land, trying to kill children and to make children get injured. From here, we're sending our message and saying that Palestine will be free. From Nabi Saleh, Janna Jihad, occupied Palestine. We finally arrived here to this holy land, to Jerusalem. Right now we are in the Masjid al-Aqsa in the Dome of the Rock. We are right here coming to pray in Ramadan. This day we came and it was super hard, just crossing a lot of checkpoints after checkpoints after checkpoints, after a lot of giving our IDs and stuff, after a lot of troubles, and in this really hot weather we came here to our capital, to Jerusalem, to visit it, I didn't visit it from 5 years ago, and it's really amazing to come here and see that much people and to come and pray here, and we wish that this land will stay for us and we will make this mosque and every single church and every single inch of this land in Palestine and in Jerusalem ours. It's going to be free, and we're coming here to pray and say to God that we want to always resist.
I just want to say, Jana, wow.
Those are super old videos, bro. It's just
Do you want to move in a little closer I know some folks are filming. Great. So how about we start off with you just telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So my name is Janna Jihad. I'm 13 years older now. I live in Palestine, also in a village called Saleh in Palestine, and I'm the youngest registered press card carrying journalist in the world. I started journalism when I was 7 years old, when I realized that there were not enough journalists to cover things that happened in Nabi Saleh. Like when my friend Mustafa was killed, my uncle was killed, a lot of things were happening in the world. Didn't know about how we as children are feeling, how we are suffering every single day. So I wanted to be the voice of those children and send their message to the world and just raise awareness about this very important and international issue. Yeah.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about those deaths.
Yeah, sure. So during my lifetime, I saw 3 people getting killed in front of me. The first one was my friend Mustafa, which was in 2011. It was pretty hard. And what happened was I was only about 5 years old, and me, Ahed, and a lot of our friends were just in the mountain collecting some flowers. It was spring, and it was that time of Friday after the demonstration. Everything was quiet and nothing was happening. And after that, we heard somebody screaming that there was somebody that just got injured in something. So we just ran down the mountain and just saw Mustafa with this tear gas that came in his face and broke his skull. We saw his blood on the street and basically just blood everywhere. It was one of the most traumatizing images that I could not forget. And we saw him taking his last breath, and it was pretty hard. The second one was my uncle. It was 2012. So Mustafa was 2011. My uncle was 2012, and it was not a Friday. He was just sitting, and then he got shot. And after that, after 2 days in the hospital, he died. And the third one was my friend Ez, which was 1 year ago in June 6, 2018. It was one of the hardest moments in my life. I literally remember everything. And what happened was, it was like basically summer holidays. So our parents and everyone was like at work, and it was like only us children who are in the houses. And I was having a sleepover in my house with my friends, and it was me, Jana, and Saleh. And we were just like, it was pretty early to wake up. It was like only 8 a.m. in the morning. And then I just woke up on like screaming, like I don't know, people screaming from outside. And the same moment, I just looked out of my room's window. My cousin and friend Ahed was just right in front of the window, and like there were no one was like throwing rocks. It was nothing. It was just a really calm morning. And then he was just standing right in front of my window. And in the same moment, I just looked. I heard 2 shots. Two bullets like getting shot. One came in his neck and one came in his chest right in front of us. And then we went and tried to save him, at least try to call the ambulance, try to do anything. And then at the same time, we were trying to go and just help him at least and see what happened. The soldiers just came running. It was like, I think it was like tens. A lot of soldiers were just like running. And then they started shooting at us by munitions, and they started also like shooting tear gas, and it was like pretty hard, just like light munitions were just like coming right under our hands and arms and everything. It was so hard. And then they surrounded Ahed while he was laying on the floor with this blood all over the floor, and then they started beating him up and just like hitting him with their feet. And we were just, I was crying, and I was also on live video, and I was calling my mom. It was like so pretty, it was pretty confusing. It was so hard for us. And then after that, they left him bleeding on the floor for 30 minutes. Whenever we wanted to go and see what's happening, they would start shooting at us. And then after that, they arrested his body, which basically was dead. And after a couple of hours, he was dead, basically. And it was pretty hard for us, really traumatizing. A lot of my friends got traumatized. For example, they always would dream about him. Whenever we would just mention his name, they would always cry. And it was like pretty hard for us because he was that type of person where we would always play with and just hang out with, and losing him was pretty hard for us.
Wow, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, and that you continue to have to go through that. What was it like the first time that you held the camera as a journalist? I know you get, and we saw in the films, and I've seen it personally, really close to the soldiers. And how is that? Are you afraid? What gives you strength?
So the first time I made a report, it was 6 years ago. So it was when I was only 7 years old. I was in a demonstration on a normal Friday, and I took my mother's phone and was reporting. And after a couple of months, I think she just saw like about 5 or 6 reports, and then she posted them on her Facebook page, and then that's how I started. And also, yeah, we get scared because like we're basically humans, we're normal children, and we're always, we feel scared and always afraid. But as a Palestinian child, as Palestinian children, we have to control our fears and not let our fears control us. Because if our fears control us, we're not gonna live. We can't resist. We can't, we can't reach our goal, which is basically liberating Palestine.
I remember the first time that I met you and your mother, and I was talking to your mother, and I said, "Oh my God, she's so fearless." So she and Ahed, they're so fearless, just right up there with the soldiers filming. And your mother, Nawal, said to me, "She's not fearless, she's terrified."
Yeah.
She said, and this is when you were 8 or 9, she said, she wakes up in the middle of the night screaming. She has night terrors. And journalism has become for her a sense of security and safety, and given her an outlet to be strong despite these fears. So I wonder, as you're filming, does the audience, the world, much of the world, because you have an enormous audience, does their participation in watching give you any strength and help you and your entire village to feel less alone?
Of course, basically, it gives me more strength to continue, and seeing a lot of people just getting educated about our issue because of my reports just makes me happy. like I'm not happy because I'm reporting, because during that time I'm reporting, I have to be playing like any other child around this world. But I'm happy that we're able to raise awareness about this very important and international issue. And it's like, it makes me so happy and so proud that a lot of people are knowing more, and a lot of people are coming to Palestine and coming to our demonstrations and stuff, and it's so amazing.
It's really incredible. Now, your village is a little bit unique. There are a number of villages in the West Bank that have weekly demonstrations, but Nabi Saleh is known for children's demonstrations, for being largely youth and women-led. Is there a story behind that, or how did the demonstrations in your village in particular begin?
So the demonstrations in my village started in 2009. Basically my village was occupied since 1967, and in 1976, the settlement of Hamish was built on the land of Nabi Saleh, and after that they were trying to steal more land, and it reached that point where we were just like, why aren't we doing anything about it? And then we started demonstrating, and I was only 3 years old in 2009. And, our demonstrations are not only children, they're men, women, The difference it's different and unique because in a lot of other villages, women cannot go out. But in Nabi Saleh, we believe that, the women are half of society, and they raise the other half, and behind every strong man, a woman, and behind every strong woman, herself. So for this very important part of society not cooperating in our demonstration, we would lose a lot of stuff. So it was amazing, and it was we accomplished a lot of stuff. We didn't, there were a lot of houses that were going to get demolished where we stood up for that, and it didn't get demolished. A lot of children were going to get arrested that they didn't get arrested because of us trying to help them. And it was pretty amazing because it's just basically a role model, and it's something to just look at and see how amazing it is. But of course, demonstrations are very hard because a lot of people get killed and injured and arrested in them, and yeah.
So I believe there's around 300 people in your village?
550.
550.
Yeah.
Of that,
not a lot.
Around how many children have been arrested in your village?
I don't really know the number of children who got arrested, but there are 400 people from the village, in the village, who got arrested. Some of them are from the village, some of them from the activists that come to the village, and also 400 people got injured, and yeah.
Do you do anything to help prepare the children for arrest? I know that you do, but I'm wondering if you could tell us a bit about that, because and a bit about what the interrogation process is like and why it's so important for, not just for children, but for children in particular, to be prepared to be separated from their family and community and for what happens.
So for us as children, we always play a game with each other. It's called Jish Arab, which is Israeli soldiers and Arabs. So in that game, there's that group of us, which are the Israeli soldiers and the Arabs. So during interrogation, we always remain silent, and it's our right. So it's basically one of the games that we play, and it's a bit educational because it helps us during interrogation to remain silent and to not give any information. And it was last 2 years ago, I believe 2017. It was the first time we made kind of a workshop, but we collected, us children gathered, and there were, lawyers and stuff that we made, we got educated more about how, interrogation is, and how, we, learned about our rights during this interrogation, during that arrest, and how what we need to do while we're interrogated, while we're in jail, because during that time there were 23 children from the village, and 23 youth from the village who were arrested, and it was pretty hard. And actually, it was so nice because after that, my friend, he was 13 years old and he got arrested, and and it was like he didn't do anything and everything. He came back from the jail and he was like, oh my god, everything worked, and like that stuff we learned, you need to do that and stuff. And like, of course, like arrest for children is pretty hard because in the Israeli military law it says if you're a Palestinian child 12 years old or up, you can get arrested, interrogated, treated like a criminal just because of you trying to defend your land, your mom, your family, yourself, your house. And during that arrest, it's pretty hard. You get subjected to a lot of stuff. For example, like just imagine you getting arrested at 3 a.m. in the morning on the night raids with that weapon, with that soldier with that huge weapon, like waking you up with it and just telling you if we didn't arrest you, we're gonna kill you or kill your family. During that arrest, we get interrogated. And during our way to the interrogation center, we get long-term handcuffed, we get blindfolded, we get beaten up. And during the interrogation, it's pretty so hard because that interrogation session can continue to a couple weeks, a couple of months. And you only have one meal a day, 11 hours of interrogation with no breaks. You cannot go to the restroom. And you get subjected to solitary confinement. And a lot of children, they also get subjected to just physical violence. And, also, some children get out with mental or psychological issues, with them getting traumatized. It is pretty hard, especially for the children under 18. And there are a lot of rights that are getting violated during that arrest. For example, if in the international law, if you're just a child under 18, you got interrogated, you need to have either a lawyer or one of your parents coming with you during that interrogation. But for us as Palestinian children, we cannot have any of them, and it's pretty hard for us.
So Nabi Saleh is famous for probably the most famous arrest of a Palestinian child, Ahed Tamimi, who I know a lot of you are familiar with, and is Jana's first cousin. Can you tell us about what happened that Ahed got arrested?
So what happened with Ahed, Ahed is my first, well, she's not my cousin, it's complicated. Look, her grandma and my grandma are sister, and her grandpa and my grandpa are brothers. So, it's like we're cousins, we're not
Definitely
cousins.
related.
Yeah, we're related, and we're also really good and close friends. So when she got arrested in December 2017, and it was after, so the soldiers they just shot a kid. He didn't get killed, but he lost 1/3 of his skull, and it was pretty hard. And then after that, the same soldiers just came back to her house. Her house is on the top of the mountain, so it's in a pretty high area. And they came to the entrance of her house, and they wanted to go into her house because it's in a high area, and they wanted to just shoot at children who were playing around the house and stuff so they can see the whole area. So they were trying to go in and they were pushing her, and then she pushed them back and then she slapped them. But the world just concentrated on the slap. They didn't see what happened before, which was Ahed Tamimi, which is our cousin who got shot in the head, as I said. So he was playing, and that whole thing that happened, it was right after Trump's declaration that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. And after that, we had a lot of stuff happening in the West Bank, and soldiers were just raiding the village. They were in the village for a couple of days at the moment, and they were just shooting gas canisters literally randomly everywhere, and no one was it wasn't a clash, but it was a raid, and they were just shooting for no reason. And then Muhammad and a couple of our friends were playing, and then the shooting just stopped suddenly, and he thought that someone got arrested or someone got injured. So he was right next to that wall, and it had a ladder, and he just climbed the wall and wanted to see if someone got arrested or where the soldiers were. And after that, the soldiers were right under that wall, and they shot him with a rubber bullet that came right here and was stuck in his brain. And after that, he was in a coma for 7 days, and it was pretty hard. He lost 1/3 of his skull, and his brain was only covered with skin, and although he got arrested 3 times after his injury, one of the times was when he was still treated, like he was like still in that treatment, and he was needing like medicine and stuff. And after that, he got arrested, and they forced him to sign a paper that said he didn't get arrested, but he lost 1/4 of his skull because of him falling from a bicycle, and it was pretty weird. You know, after that, he was arrested for the 2nd time, which was he got kidnapped. And from the village, it was in Ramadan after Iftar, and he was just walking, and then they were in the Israeli soldiers pretended to be Palestinians, and they were in a Palestinian registered car, and they just came in and basically kidnapped him. They didn't inform his parents for the whole day, and it was pretty hard for us, you know. He's that type of person who just like goes out and stays with us, and his parents were calling us at 3 a.m. saying, "Did you see Muhammad? Is Muhammad with you or anything?" And we were like, "No," and we were all worried. And after that whole day, we got informed that he was arrested. And the 3rd time, actually, he got treated in South Africa in October, this year, 2018. And after his treatment, he came back to Palestine and he got arrested. And they showed him pictures of him throwing stones, and they said, they gave him the dates, and they said, okay, you were throwing stones, you were in an illegal demonstration during that time. And during that time, he was in South Africa. So it showed how, it's like, we showed them his passport and stuff, and it was just all a lie. And that's pretty much is what happened.
So, go ahead. So remind me how long Ahed was in prison for.
She was arrested for 8 months, and she was only 16 years old. She turned 17 in the jail.
So what was it like for you? I know that along with being your cousin, she's also your best friend.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to have her gone, and was that the first person that close to you that went missing overnight?
It wasn't the first person super close to me that got arrested. I swear about 95% of my really close friends got arrested. And Ahed was one of them, and she's like my best friend. So it was super hard for me, you know. For 8 months, I couldn't speak to her or anything. You know, if I had any problem, it would be Ahed, the first one who I'd like call and just tell everything. And it was pretty hard not finding her by my side during that time. And after that, it was like the hardest, you know, one of the hardest situations that I faced during that time, and I just hated it.
What was it like when Ahed got out? And, you know, this really catapulted Nabi Saleh to a world stage. He had already had world attention, but what was it like having that much attention on the village as well, including when she was released?
When Ahed got released, I was in France. So it was so sad, bro. Just like she got arrested, and I didn't see her even I didn't see her for not only 8 months, but for an additional month. And it was so freaking bad. And I was just like calling and crying from Paris, and just it was the hardest thing ever. And then, you know, she was calling, "Oh my God, Jana, where are you?" And then, you know, she didn't know that I cut my hair, and then she hated me for that. Yeah.
So along with violence at demonstrations and arrest, I know there's other places for interrogation, so if you could tell us what preceded and how you ended up getting accreditation as a journalist.
So after Ahed got arrested, you know, there were a lot of media that were coming to the village and stuff. I was interviewed in addition to my normal reports. So after that, the Israeli Ministry of Strategic Affairs, they made a secret report about me saying that I'm the next threat on their state, just because of me trying to cover whatever was happening and to be the voice of the Palestinian children. And after that, it was like right after me being stopped while coming back from Jordan, while I was only 12 years old in 4 days and was stopped for 3 hours and interrogated. And, you know, after that, the Israeli 4th news channel revealed that report, and I got a lot of threats, intimidations by the Israeli street, which, like, you know, just imagine yourself getting those messages on Facebook that are saying, oh, here's your house, here's your school, here's your way to school, we can arrest you, we can kill you. It was pretty traumatizing and pretty scary, and yeah.
I remember at the time.
And after that, I got registered.
I remember at the time of the arrest that there was a prominent Israeli journalist who called for Ahed to be, basically called for her to be raped, that made things happen in the dark to her. So I imagine very similar, an extreme amount of hate. So you revealed something the other day, which I'm going to ask you about, because we've been talking about your career as a journalist and when it started and how you got accredited, but you revealed the other day that you have other career aspirations as well as you move forward in your education. So I was wondering if you would just tell us a little bit about that.
There are a lot of stuff, bro. One of them is I play soccer. What do? I do a lot of stuff. I love reading books. I'm interested in religions. I'm interested in history. But I don't like history classes, but I'm just interested in history in general. Nobody likes school or anything like that's related to school, so it's like the other side. And what do you mean? I got
You were saying what you'd maybe like to major in when you go to university.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so in university, of course, I may be a journalist in the future, or maybe Palestine would be free. Hopefully, Palestine will be free. And during university, I'm going to study two stuff. So my major is going to be political science, and my minor is going to be gender studies. So
I know you spent a lot of time in South Africa, and
Yeah,
Nadia's had you there.
for the past 2 summers.
Yeah, can you talk about your time there and connections that you draw between the past South African struggle to end apartheid and the continued struggle there for equality and the struggle for free Palestine?
Of course. So for the past 2 summers, I was on a speaking tour in South Africa. So of course, we know South Africa was under apartheid, and Palestine is very related to that because we're also under apartheid, under colonization, occupation, which is basically the Israeli occupation. And we're facing kind of like the same stuff. We're facing a lot of people getting killed for no reason, a lot of people getting arrested and injured. And of course, also the South African, Nelson Mandela was one of the greatest supporters of the Palestinian struggle. He also said that South Africa would never be free unless Palestine is free. And of course, we love him and everything. And I went for a speaking tour. We also we have that initiative called Shamsan, which was made 3 years ago. 3 years ago. And it's basically to just create a platform for the Palestinian children to send their messages and stories to the world in general. And we made that, and we interviewed about 300 chose 13 child from them, and made a calendar, and which has a picture of the child and his story or her story. And I was a part of it, and then I became the ambassador of Shamsan. And we always make a lot of campaigns. Last year we had the child prisoner campaign, Miranda rights and everything. We made that move, a lot of campaigns. We have, we always try to support children who get injured and cannot go to hospitals and stuff. And this year our main campaign is the educational fund. So during my birthday, I received a lot of people telling me, oh, can we send you gifts and stuff? And instead of all of that, I decided to make an educational fund, which is basically to help the Palestinian children get educated, because a lot of the children in Gaza are under siege and they cannot go out, they cannot go to universities, maybe they cannot afford it. A lot of children in the West Bank, they face a lot of checkpoints, so we always try to help them. And yeah, that's the main campaign this year.
So this being your first tour of the U.S., I know that you have got to have a lot of incredible meetings, including with Mark Lamont Hill, and a number of meetings on the Hill in Congress. And wondering, I know you met with Representative Rashida Tlaib, and I know you
I
met
didn't meet her yet, but I met with her
office.
and we're meeting her in Detroit.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So, any impressions that you have walking around U.S. Congress, having those meetings? I know some of them were less friendly of meetings, offices that are a little less pro-Palestinian rights than Representative Tlaib.
So we met with a lot of offices, not a lot, but we met, I don't know the exact number, but we met with a couple of offices. And I spoke about Palestinian children and how we're living under this Israeli military occupation. And it's very important because, right now we have the Betty McCollum's bill, No Way to Treat a Child, HR 2407, which we need a lot of support for that, which is very important because, children, they're not supposed to be detained, they're not supposed to be arrested, but they're supposed to be living their childhood. So I wish you guys can also support it by calling or emailing your representatives and asking them to co-sponsor that bill because it's very important and we need it to be a new law because America doesn't have to fund arresting children and it's very it's basically injustice and it's basically super bad for us children. Imagine 12 years old getting arrested. Even that law, that illegal law which says that a 12 years old child can get arrested, they usually break it. Like, for example, last year, my 11 years old cousin Sam, he got arrested, and what the hell?
So we also have another piece of legislation that I've been telling Jana about that just got introduced while she was here with Representative Tlaib as well, but sponsored by Ilhan Omar, and it is a resolution to protect our right to boycott Israel for Palestinian rights, and that's HRES 496. So please also, if you're not a DC resident and you have a representative, please tell them to co-sponsor that with Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Representative John Lewis. So I have just one more question for you, Jana, and then we're going to open it up. I'm going to let some other folks have a chance and not monopolize all of your time. So the other new thing that I learned about you during your time here that I hadn't known before is that you were actually born in the United States, the same town in Florida that I went to elementary school, but that you have U.S. citizenship. That's you can
Palestinian.
You can carry a U.S. passport. So that's what I want to ask you about. This would be a way, let's say, to get out, right? To not live under fear of arrest constantly, and to have your childhood. So what is it? Can you speak about what keeps you there? Why you stay in Palestine?
Okay. So basically, I have an American passport. I was born in Gainesville, in Florida, and but I didn't live in America. Basically, I was 3 months old and I came back. I only came back here to West Palm Beach for kindergarten, and I just came back to Palestine. So I lived my whole life in Palestine. So I'm Palestinian, not American. Yeah.
Not American.
Not American. Yeah. So actually, I also have a Palestinian passport because both of my parents are Palestinian. And I stay there because I have a Palestinian passport, Palestinian ID, and everything. But it's easier for me to go out of the country because I have an American passport. But it doesn't prevent them from me getting arrested, interrogated, or any other thing. Like, I can't go to Jerusalem, I can't go to the 48 occupied Palestine or anything because I have a Palestinian passport. But it only helps when you are traveling outside of Palestine and stuff, because it's very hard for us as Palestinians with only a Palestinian passport to get out of the country because, getting a visa is super hard, especially to America. So
I know that your mom is not able to get a visa to come here, and that Ahed and her family have not been able to get a visa to come here, and that Ahed's father's visa was actually revoked by the U.S. State Department a few years ago. So we're going to open it up for questions now, and I don't see if we have the portable mic maybe over there. Great. Maybe Ty or Medea, if you could help bring the mic around, or any of our crew, and let's go ahead and take some questions.
Ramallah. I'm from the city of Ramallah.
Yeah.
I know the exact location where you have these issues. And one thing you missed is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon during your school hours, they stage themselves in the mountains so that they harass you on purpose.
Well, basically what happens for us, my school's like in Ramallah,
Yes.
so it's right next to the DCO, if you know it.
Yes.
So it's right next to a clash point, which we cannot open the windows because we don't want to smell tear gas. But in a lot of other schools, those schools get raided and children get arrested from their schools. So that's one of the issues for us children.
Well, I've seen quite a bit of these issues. I happen to have an issue myself with no reasons, even on the bus where I had a gun stuck right to my throat between Jerusalem and Bethlehem on a checkpoint. And on a couple occasions where I've had even a gun stuck right to my head. And by the way, as an American citizen, it doesn't mean nothing to you over there.
Exactly. No.
And I went to the American consulate by the name Mr. Griffith, who was the vice consul in there, and he simply tells me, we just put your name on paper and it doesn't mean anything. So having an American passport is useless and not even being recognized as long as you're a Palestinian.
So along those lines, what's it like sometimes to get to school? What might an average day going to school be like?
So, it's hard, you know? So, for the most simple thing for a normal child around this world is to go to their schools, but for us it's a struggle for us students. So, for me, I wake up, go to my school. I face a lot of checkpoints. I face 3 checkpoints. And the Israeli checkpoints and the OPT is basically not normal checkpoints, but they're basically barriers. And they just block the street. You cannot get in. So instead of me reaching my school in about 25 to 30 minutes, I have to go to another way that takes me about 2.5 to 3 hours to reach my school. And it's not only me as a student who suffered, but also a lot of people. For example, my grandma, she started doing kidney dialysis 2 years ago from how much gas she used to inhale, and then she has to go to the hospital 3 days a week to make the kidney dialysis thing, and then she has, sometimes she cannot go because of those checkpoints. Also, a lot of pregnant women give birth to their children in the car on those checkpoints. A lot of patients cannot go to the hospital. A lot of workers cannot go to their works, and it's pretty hard for us to reach the place that we need to be at the exact time. So.
I recall that roundabout road, and it has a lot of rocks on it. It's very bumpy and unpleasant in many hours.
Yeah, and sometimes that road is even closed. So you're in the area, you're in the zone, cannot get out of it.
Other questions?
Hi, Jana. Take a laugh here. I had the opportunity to work in Palestine for the last 2 years, and I passed your village every day before realizing that was Nabi Saleh. And so I was working in Deir Hassana.
What?
I know I always mispronounce it. So I was working for the Al-Kamanjati Music School in Ramallah. And a lot of our students, they expressed how they really appreciated having another identity, or an identity that's beyond only being, an occupied Palestinian, where maybe they're a pianist, they're a violinist, there are these sort of things. And so I guess my question for you is, do you ever feel that you want to just, forget these struggles and have an escape, or what are your thoughts on that?
So I can't forget those struggles because I'm living in them, but I can basically work for me in the future to just basically live a normal life like any person around this world, and for the next generation to not live the childhood that we're living right now. So that's what I can do. But I can't forget it because basically, even right now I'm in America, but every single time I'm calling, did anybody get injured? Did anybody get arrested? Basically, we're living, our souls are in Palestine, but our bodies are in America, so I can't forget about it.
I just want to comment on the question, Deir Hassana. Deir Hassana Deir means a monastery, Hassana. And Nabi Saleh is the name of a prophet called
Prophet
Saleh.
Saleh,
Yes.
and because his grave is in Nabi Saleh.
Yes, and Nabi is means prophet. That's the thing when you mentioned Deir Ghassana, it's also a name that relates to old Christianity. A name. Now, I used to work in Beitunia, in Kulliyat al-Muallimat, cross from Nabi Saleh. I used to travel from Bethlehem, going all the way down to Wadi Nar, going all the way down. I spent 3 hours to get from my house to the job in the morning and 3 hours to come back to teach 2 classes. I had my American passport. I could have done it in 20 minutes going through Bethlehem on the checkpoint and going through.
Yeah, the checkpoint next to Bethlehem is the hardest checkpoint I could ever imagine. You know, there's that whole thing right on top of the hill, and they just block the whole thing, and there's no other way to get out of there.
And the other thing going on across from that checkpoint right now, they are demolishing more than 10 buildings that contains 100 units in Wadi al-Hummus, which is in Bethlehem, and now they are adding a new crowd of refugees. They are trying to solve the problem. They are creating the problems every day.
Exactly, yeah.
We have 2 people up front.
Thank you, Jana. This is Al Museum of the Palestinian People. So thank you very much for your. Before I ask my question, I think one thing that we owe you as grown-ups is to apologize for failing you kids, for you having to carry this. So this is the first thing we should start with. What I want to ask, because I'm a parent of a 13-year-old, and there's nothing that hurts more than to know that you cannot protect your own child. So this is something that we apologize, as the older generation, we apologize to you for having failed you. The question is, you've gone through a lot, and you've had some support and solidarity. What are things that have worked in ways that people have helped you really, and what are things that are not helping, so that tell us what are the things that are most useful to you there. Thank you.
Well, I believe any type of resistance helps. So I don't know what there is that doesn't help, because resistance doesn't mean demonstrating, but it means doing a lot of stuff like singing, also like singing, drawing, journalism. There are millions of ways of resistance, and just us existing in Palestine is also resistance. So basically, there are a lot of stuff you guys can do that works. Basically the best thing you guys can do is basically raising awareness about the Palestinian issue, and being the voice of those children that are just suffering every single day and getting killed and getting arrested or injured. So that's the best thing you guys can do. You guys can also support the educational fund for Shamsan. You guys can, what can you do? You guys can basically do a lot of stuff.
Can you tell us how to support the educational fund?
Huh?
Yes.
Change your government. Change your government. Yeah, exactly. Don't vote for Trump next year.
Can you tell us how to support that educational fund? If there's a website or where we can go to?
Do we have the flyers? Oh, we don't have the flyers, but...
This is being filmed live on Code Pink's Facebook page, and we will put the website in there in the comments.
Yeah, sure.
Or is there something to Google?
Yeah, or on Shamsan's page on Facebook, or on my page on Facebook. It's just everywhere,
Or go to your page on Facebook to find it,
You
Jana.
can go anywhere.
Hello, my name is Joe Milburn, and I'm a member of the Missouri chapter of American Muslims for Palestine. And the question I wanted to ask is that, within many Muslims who are activists, it's common that for some of their parents or all the older generation to tell them to not get involved in activism, or particularly the younger generation, because it will quote unquote bring us trouble. Especially because we have surveillance from FBI among other areas of intelligence. Obviously, in Palestine and West Bank, you guys have an even worse form of it there. And at least from what I've been told from my Palestinian friends, is that many Palestinian youth are shamed by members in the older generation to not get involved in activism because it'll quote unquote bring us trouble. In your case, you don't listen to that, obviously. You're unapologetic about that. What keeps you and other Palestinian youth from not listening to that mindset?
Personally, I was born into an activist family, so my mom, my friends, my family, they all demonstrate with me. So that's a good thing for me. And like, you know, like if your parents told you to do something that you believe is not right, why to do it? Like, that's, yeah, so if you believe something is right, like, you know, just supporting Palestine in any way is right for you, so do it. Just don't care about any, of course care about your parents, but like, if, you know, it's just not right to not care about your country. And, you know, I believe you guys know what's right and what's wrong, so you guys basically can, you know, also just getting involved in those stuff doesn't mean demonstrating, doesn't mean marching, doesn't mean, you can sing for Palestine, you can draw for Palestine, you can dance for Palestine, you can do whatever, you know. Resistance doesn't only, it's not one way, but it's like a huge tree that has 1 million leaves on it, and just, there are a lot of, like, millions of ways that you guys can resist and can get involved in that issue without basically, like, being in like, deeply in it, but you can guys be in it, and you have to be in it because we all have that responsibility of, you know, because children are basically just paying the price of war that they didn't cause, and it's all of our responsibilities to just let those children live in peace and freedom and justice, because I believe if freedom and justice is a right of any single child, it has to be for every single child around this world, and every single child around this world deserves to live a normal childhood and a normal life.
So thank you for being here. I'm also a Florida girl. I know you don't consider yourself American, but still. So my question is, when so many Palestinians are denied the right to return, how do you feel about non-Palestinians going to visit Palestine, getting to know Palestine? Do you think it's ethical? How do you feel about that?
I love when people come to Palestine. Of course, it's not offending like that. The Palestinian, like, it's sad that the Palestinian refugees cannot come back to Palestine, but we're working on it, and it's one of, like, the main issues in Palestine. But also, we love if, like, anybody from outside of Palestine come to Palestine and visit. And of course, you guys, our houses are open. You're welcome to Palestine. You're welcome to Nabi Saleh. And yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
I think we've got one back there.
Hi, Jana.
Hi.
I'm an activist. I'm Palestinian, you know, by blood, and much like you, even though I was born and raised here, I still consider myself Palestinian, but I've been here my entire life. I visited Palestine very often. I live in DC, and so there's a lot that, you know, goes on in the city that people can be a part of in order to advocate on behalf of Palestinians. So I urge a lot of you who are like DC residents who don't necessarily live in an area where you can vote on certain issues to actually just be very active in the DC scene, specifically with Occupation Free DC. The city of DC is, you know, our mayor specifically is looking to do business and invest with a lot of Israeli firms, and this is something that we've been working to fight, and there is a meeting later this week if anyone's interested. You can find it on Facebook, but also our DC police train with Israeli police, much like other police around the country in Chicago and New York. And obviously we see a lot of the same tactics that are used against Palestinian children in Israel are also being taught to our police here and used against black children.
Are American weapons, you know, and also one thing, America is trying to play the role of the mediator in the Palestinian-Israeli issue, but it's the Israeli's lawyer, so.
Right, so I wanted to get to the question, no worries. But so my question is, so I remember obviously when Ahed was arrested, there was a lot of, you know, media coverage of it here in the United States, and a lot of black activist solidarity groups were hosting events talking about it and talking about the parallels between black children being attacked and killed by police in the US and obviously Palestinian children overseas. So my question to you is I know that obviously every day living overseas in Palestine, I have family there still, and you know, they still struggle every day and they fight and every day is a battle, but is the racial tension and the issue of Black lives in America something that you guys are aware of and that you discussed? Because I know in Ferguson when it happened there was a lot of solidarity between Palestine and Ferguson, and it's continued on since then every time there is a shooting, a killing, or any kind of clash.
Of course, because we can relate to those children who are getting killed our children are also getting killed every day, and we can relate to those children. And I also believe that if you're against that, you need to be against the killing of the Palestinian children. If you're against the children in cages on the borders, you have to be against the Palestinian children who are being detained. So yeah, we're pretty aware of that issue because it's very important, and we're against racism, sexism, a lot of stuff. So yeah.
So let's take one more question and then we're going to close out.
Can I relate to your situation here? One incident I witnessed myself on the Calandia going to Jerusalem from Alberia is that there was a young Muslim guy and me standing here. They start to assault a Muslim young kid and beating him, and me standing up looking at him, and finally they said, oh yeah, you got a cross on you, you're Christian, you can sit on the side. That's the kind of hate they created between us for no reason whatsoever. Yeah.
No, but okay, that happened, but right now also for us, especially the Palestinian children, we have a lot of Palestinian Christians and Palestinian Muslims and Palestinian, even Palestinian Jews. And we were living together before that occupation, and you know how the Israeli propaganda is trying to say, oh, that's a religious issue, it's against Muslims, which are Palestinians, and it's against Jews, which are Israelis. But that's pretty wrong, and our issues against occupation is against all of that hate and racism that is happening from the Israeli side, and we have an occupier and we have a victim, which are the Palestinian children. And of course we refuse to define ourselves as victims. We define ourselves as freedom fighters. So our issue is not a religious issue at all, but is a political, international, even not Palestinian nor Arab, but a political international issue that needs to be, people need to be aware of.
Could you give us your view on Jared Kushner's peace plan? And what do you see in the future? Do you see a Palestinian state, a one democratic state?
Okay. The two-state solution is dead. Or the borders of Israel. The West Bank is supposed to be Palestinian. 68% of the West Bank is illegal Israeli settlements. So we have the other option, which is the one-state solution. So the one-state solution, in my own personal perspective, can be a one-state solution for all of us can live together, but they need to remove that mentality of killing children, arresting children, and everything. They need to be peaceful. We all have to be under one government, having the same rights, no racism, no anything. We all, the refugees can come back to Palestine. A lot of people, we need to get our rights and just live like any normal human being in this world. So that's what I believe would be the thing that would happen. And even the two-state solution, bro, Israel is just against it, so yeah.
So on that hopeful note, as we move towards equality and freedom for all, let's all give Jana a big hand.
Anybody who hasn't signed up on the sign-up sheet, could you raise your hand? It was going around, but I don't know if they went all around. Okay.
Okay, what was that you had?
You're already